Hi guys, Jamie Sullins here again, and I am coming to you today for another episode of the Bible in Your Business. So yesterday I started this new adventure that was highly recommended that I do, and I'm thrilled that I did. It was not easy to do. I had a lot of self-doubt before I started it, but thank you so much for all the messages that I received and people that said it really spoke to them. So that really encouraged me. And I'm excited to share with you guys today a little bit more about some stories in the Bible that can benefit your business. So today we're actually going to be in the book of Nehemiah. Now, Nehemiah is not a huge book of the Bible. And honestly, I don't know that I've ever really spent a lot of time in Nehemiah until recently. And it's because of a devotional book that I was reading. It led me there. And I just want to show you guys this because this is my current devotional book. And so a lot of things that I'm going to be sharing stem from things that are shared in this book. So it's called He Walks Among Us, and it is written by World Vision is the sponsor of the book, but it's a devotional written by missionaries in tons of different countries. So if you're interested in missionary work, things like that, this is a great devotional. I got it off of Amazon. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. So in my study, this actually happened last week, and normally I would read a devotional book each morning, read that little snippet, go into the scriptures, and then do another one the next day. Well, I got so intrigued by what happened on August 23rd that I actually spent a couple days in Nehemiah and really just digging into this chapter because I felt like it was telling me a lot about my business. And here's basically where it started. Too often, we try to do too much. We get these big, huge visions, these big, huge plans, big, huge goals, and then we get frozen because that big, huge goal or that big, huge plan is just too much. It overwhelms us and just trying to do too big of things. God doesn't expect us to do big, huge things all at once. And honestly, it just doesn't work. When you try to do too big of a thing, it just doesn't work. And the entire chapter of Nehemiah or book of Nehemiah breaks this down. So I want to kind of give you a history of what's going on before we start into this book of the Bible. So decades after the Babylonians conquered Jerusalem, there used to be a wall around Jerusalem. It got destroyed in this battle, and decades after, the wall around the city had not been rebuilt. Now that really bothered Nehemiah. Actually, in Nehemiah 1:4, it says he wept about it, but he was overwhelmed with what to do. And I think we get that way in our business. We see other people succeeding, and we want so badly what they have that sometimes I might have even cried about it because I want it so bad, but it's overwhelming. What do I even do? Where do I find customers? Where do I find hostesses? Where do I find recruits? It gets to be too much, and so we freeze and we don't do anything. But that's not what happened with Nehemiah. He teaches us a different lesson in how to go about changing. So Nehemiah did a lot of things, and I read about most of these in chapters 1 and 2. First of all, he sought permission. He actually went to the king. So in Nehemiah 2:5, it says, then I prayed to the God in heaven, and I answered the king, if it pleases the king, and if your servant has found favor in his sight, let him send me to the city in Judah where my fathers are buried so that I can rebuild it. So he sought permission. Now here's the thing. In your business, you don't always have to seek permission from someone else. Maybe in some steps of the business you do. If you're wanting to put product in a store, you have to seek permission of the manager, things like that. But a lot of times, it's seeking permission from the people around you, your spouse, your children, asking them, hey, can you give mom, can you give me, whoever you're talking to, can you just grant me a little bit of time to work on this project? Can you give mom an hour of quiet time? Or honey, can you watch the kids for an hour while I really focus on this? So it's seeking permission for those sacrifices, because building a business is a sacrifice. It's seeking permission to make those sacrifices from the people around you. It includes them in on it. It helps them to buy in on what you're doing, which will help them to want this goal as much as you do. So then again, he sought protection. In Nehemiah 2:7, I also said to him, if it pleases the king, may I have letters to the governors of Trans-Euphrates so that they will provide me safe conduct until I arrive in Judah. Now, most of you watching this are building a business in America, and we don't so much have to worry about the safety of our business, but it's a good principle to remember. So then he asked for provision in Nehemiah 2:8-9. And may I have a letter to Asaph, keeper of the king's forest, so that he will give me timber to make beams for the gates of the citadel by the temple, and for the city wall, and for the residence I will occupy. And because the gracious hand of my God was upon me, the king granted my request. So I went to the governors of Trans-Euphrates and gave them the king's letters. The king had also sent army officers and cavalry with me. So he made sure he was prepared. He looked for provision. So you have to have that in your business. You have to have provision. And provision is not always just monetary. You have to make sure that you have all the needed supplies to build what you want to build. Now, that doesn't mean you need to invest tons and tons of money. Baby steps here, people. Just make sure that you have exactly what you need to be successful in that first baby task that you're going to do. So again, in this chapter, in this part, it says he went alone and he did not proclaim big, glorious plans. Now, here's the thing. We want big, huge things for our business. But if we go blasting that out to everyone, number one, they might think you're crazy. Number two, some people are going to be like, so what does she have that I don't have? And honestly, they're not going to stand with you. So let's look at baby steps. Again, it was not easy, and he had opposition. You find that in Nehemiah 2:10 and 2:19. I'm going to jump down to 2:19. But when, and it mentioned a couple names that I can't even pronounce, when these people heard about it, they mocked and they ridiculed us. What is this that you are doing? They asked. Are you rebelling against our king? There will be people in your business that mock you and ridicule you. Who are you to do this big plan that you have? Who do you think you are? What's so special about you? But don't let those people get you down. They will come and they will attack you. Nehemiah researched it in Nehemiah 2:13-16. So let's go to 13-16. By night I went out through the valley gate toward the jackal well and the dung gate, examining the walls of Jerusalem, which had been broken down, and its gates, which had been destroyed by fire. Then I moved on toward the fountain gate and the king's pool, but there was not enough room for my mount to get through, so I went up to the valley by night, examining the wall. Finally, I turned back and re-entered through the gate. So you need to know your market. You need to do some research. Do you know everything about the product that you're selling? Do you know how to talk to the market that you're getting into? Do your research. And lastly, this is probably the most important part. This wall was not built by Nehemiah. You might think that in all this information I've given you leading up to this, but Nehemiah did not build the wall. He did not rebuild the wall. It was a team effort. To hear about this, you can go to Nehemiah, the entire chapter of Nehemiah 3. Every person built a little section of the wall in front of their home. So keep that in mind when you're looking to build a business. You can't do it alone. And God doesn't want you to do things alone. He's given you people around you that will help you build this with you. If each person does their little part, it's going to build a huge business. So I'm in direct sales. I'm in multi-level marketing. And that's exactly how it's set up to work. Every person does a little bit and a little bit consistently, and it grows into a huge business. So I want you to remember that. I'm already at 10 minutes. I really didn't want to go over that. So a couple other things. The entire group, they were ridiculed. Nehemiah 4:3, they doubted. Every single person doubted. Nehemiah 4:12. Others were out to destroy and actually kill them. So the people that were building this wall actually worked with a weapon in one hand, and they were building the wall with the other hand. That's in Nehemiah 4:16 through 23. But I loved what it said in Nehemiah 5:19. Remember me with favor, O my God, for all I have done for these people. And then in Nehemiah 6:9, but I prayed, strengthen my hands. And here's the thing, when everyone works together, these goals can happen because the wall was completed in just 52 days. You read that in Nehemiah 6:15. I loved this. In Nehemiah 7:4, the city was large and spacious, but there were very few people in it. So they built this amazing thing that had room for lots of other people to join them. And that's exactly what you want to do in building a business. You want to have a good structure, a good base, a good strong foundation so that you can welcome tons of other people into your business. So I hope that this has encouraged you today and given you a little insight in what you need to do. Maybe you need to make some changes in your business. Maybe you need to do some research. Maybe you need to seek provision. But I hope that what I've shared with you today speaks to you and it speaks to your vision. And I hope that you have a wonderful day. Thanks so much for joining me.